and welcome. You're watching FII. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Now, the COVID figures in the country are showing a declining trend. Our vaccination numbers are gradually picking up, not at the speed that we want, but they are gradually picking up. So what lies ahead of us? So much talk is happening regarding the third wave. What should be guiding our vaccine policy when it comes to that? Well, there is one key that will really, in the ideal world at least, should be deciding which way our vaccine policy is going, how do we take care and how do we stop a third wave from coming in. And that key is actually the seropositivity survey. So on the program today, we tell you everything you need to know about seropositivity, and then we also look at it state by state, sometimes cities as well, to try and understand that when the third wave hits us, it will hit us, which parts of the country are going to be most vulnerable. So without any further ado, let's get into our explainer. So first up, what exactly is a sero survey? Now, COVID serological survey analyzed the number of people who have developed antibodies to the virus. Such surveys often are a way to give us a rough estimate of sorts on how much population has actually been exposed to the virus, both symptomatically and asymptomatically. How is it done? Well, this is essentially a blood test. So samples are collected and the presence of antibodies in the serum is looked into. It is said to be more accurate immunity profile than those created by data collected by vaccination coverage or even disease surveillance. Remember the testing figures that we get? There could be so many people asymptomatic. So the actual number really is reflected in the seropositivity survey. So what makes it so important? And this is really the key. Now, seropositivity is the guiding force, but like I said, in the ideal world, it should be the guiding force for vaccination policy in the country. It can provide information on the proportion of the population that has seroprotection versus which is still susceptible to the virus, because it helps track the asymptomatic people as well and those who do not have common symptoms. It is used by WHO, for example, to track measles, rubella as well. They give you an idea of how infection rates are progressing. It is helping governments monitor COVID-19 trends as well. The virus will spread, remember, in areas with less seropositivity. Simply put, a lower seropositivity means more vulnerability, and a higher seropositivity means higher antibody cover and then relatively moving closer towards herd immunity. But there are several challenges as well when it comes to seropositivity. It can be pretty challenging to carry out as it is very expensive. People might not be willing to provide their blood fluids, which may not be accurate representation of the populations who are seroprevalent. The larger the sample size, the more precise the data really is. Our sample size in India, for example, is growing. However, it can be unbiased estimates with a smaller size, but people's participation needs to be truly representative of that population. So if sample size is key, how exactly has it been different in the country? Remember, so far there have been 3 national sero surveys in the country. We'll take you through all of them step by step. The first national survey was actually held between May to early June in 2020, where about 24,000 samples only were collected. These were random samples taken up in community-based survey. It was also picked up in about 700 villages and wards. About 70 districts and 21 states of the country were identified for this. The second survey, that was in August of 2022, and why I'm emphasizing on the time, because it's not just the sample, remember the sample size, but the timing also, which is very crucial. We'll tell you that on the program as well. Second survey, the samples went up gradually. It went up to about 29,000 at least, and the same number of people were picked up. The same districts were taken into account as well. The third national survey, and this is crucial, happened between November and December of 2020. The general population picked up was about 28,500. This time around, people as well as health workers were picked up. About 7,000 of them were health workers. And now India is gearing up for the 4th national survey, which will happen in roughly about a couple of days from now. It's scheduled to start in June, and this time population above 6 years of age is also going to be covered in this. Remember the second wave which infected so many younger people, kids as well. So that cover has also been established in the 4th wave. So as we talk about these surveys, what was the positivity rate now, both in first, second and the third seropositivity survey that happened? The first one found 0.73% of people in the protective layer. That meant so few people really, adults only it was. It found that only they had the seropositivity cover. The second one, this time it included 10 years and above as well, it went up to 6.6%. And the third one, 21.4%. Out of this, 25.3 were of the 10 and 17 years old survey, and only 3.5% of infections detected and recorded in the other age group. So what does it really tell us? What is the trend looking like? Questions that really arise out of this survey. How much seropositivity is actually enough? That is key, because that will tell us how close we are to achieving herd immunity. How do we get there really? If a dip is noted, why is that happening? Is waning off of antibodies, that takes place in the timing. How crucial is